Welcome to the At Home Dad Show.
Today we dive right into parenting advice and that all-consuming question of screen time.
We'll explore our current kicks.
Yeah, those things that we're researching/obsessing about at the moment.
We'll tell you what to expect from the show.
I talk goulash and making the bed.
I talk RVs and toilet paper.
And as always, we'll probe the daily quandary that is, what the fuck's for dinner? Let's do it.
Let's do it. Here we are.
Here we are. And why are we here?
Well, because our wives are at work.
Because our wives are at work.
And we have time to do a podcast.
And why is that?
Because we're stay-at-home dads.
We are stay-at-home dads. Yes, we are. But before we go too far, dude, I got a question for you. Do you make the bed every morning?
No.
You don't?
I don't. No, it's something that I would like to do. I think it's something that my wife would like to come home to, a made bed.
That's something that grown-ups do.
Yeah, it is.
So,
someday. I've also heard it as a good way to keep you from just crawling right back into it. But no, this morning I did not make the bed.
It's so true. It's so true.
Right?
Because sometimes Gemma will make the bed, and then I'll sneak back in there midday, right?
Sure.
After I've done the stuff I do as a stay-at-home dad. And it'll be made. And I'll be like, if I get in, she's going to know that I napped. Not that that's wrong. She would never say I shouldn't nap, but...
Well, the other option would be to make it again. Let me finish my story. Let me finish my story. So we're dog sitting, and this dog particularly loves to lay just right on my pillow.
Ooh.
So I kind of made the bed today just in an effort to cover my pillow and put the blanket over so she lays on the blanket and not my pillow.
Right.
So sort of made the bed.
Yeah, but it was more you needed to make the bed, not...
Yeah.
It's something that you...
Not so much from an aesthetic point of view.
My mom made the bed every day. And it was like hotel quality made.
Yeah, bounce a quarter off of it.
Yeah, and I'm just not... I don't know. Are we in a generation where people don't make their beds? Is that like an older generation thing?
That's a good question. I wonder if the Bureau of Labor Statistics has some numbers on that. Maybe we should do a quick outline of what we're going to do here. I think first, we'd like to just spend a little bit of time talking about what you can expect from the At Home Dad show. And then we're going to check in on some parenting advice. We're going to check in on what our kicks are these days.
I love a good kick. Gives me something to research.
And then the all-important what the fuck's for dinner.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. Because you know what? It's weird. It comes up every day.
So what is this podcast about?
Searching for stay-at-home podcasts. There are a couple that were out there, and a lot of them have sort of stopped putting them out. And I feel that there is a need. There's actually a growing number of fathers who are now stay-at-home dads, and that started changing. Some people say around 2008 when the recession hit, and then people needed to go out and get jobs.
Right.
So there are more stay-at-home dads at home, and I think that we're not included in a lot of the Mommy Me Playdate groups.
Right.
And so, am I the only guy that's doing this? And when I'm at school and I find another stay-at-home dad, I'm like, dude, you do this too? It's nice, and then all of a sudden you got that connection. So I think to give people out there that idea that there are other guys out there. There's even a whole organization for it, which we'll get into later. But there's a stay-at-home dad con coming up in Orlando in September of this year. That's crazy.
I believe it's pronounced Orlando.
Okay. Tony Orlando.
So, and I think we're looking for our community of dads who do this as well. So
yes.
There's a little bit of a selfish quality too, where we'd like to connect with other dads who are in similar situations and have that chat. And we'll have guests on, folks who we know who are in similar situations or can provide color on new family dynamics.
I think we will have stay-at-home moms on, and I think we'll also probably have our wives on.
Yep.
Talk about what they think about being the sort of primary breadwinners of the family.
Yeah.
The pressures that puts on them as well.
Absolutely.
Because it absolutely does. My wife the other night, she said, I feel like I'm an absentee parent sometime, which is really sad, but she's got a big life. She's very busy, and sometimes she just can't be around. And when she's home, sometimes there's stuff she has to do for work still because it's not a 9 to 5. So
this is something I was kind of thinking of and we'll have to consider, I think, should we have the kids on?
Yeah, absolutely.
We should definitely have them on, but I'm wondering if they're at a stage where we could actually ask them how they feel about having their dad home more.
And the thing is I don't think that they would know, because they don't know. It's always sort of been this way.
I agree.
But we also have some interesting statistics we'll do in a later episode about how it can be beneficial, actually, for children to have dads at home.
So in trying to distill what I think the podcast is about, it's about looking at the family and your family and families in general from a practical standpoint, and trying to strip away some of the traditional roles and the societal norms that we are built with, and just trying to kind of, for lack of a better term, live your best life, no matter how that looks and no matter how that may be different from what is traditional.
Absolutely, live the best life, because I never intended for this to be this way, and I think a lot of stay-at-home dads don't. I think you think you're going to go out there and you're going to have this job or this career and you're going to do this thing, and we're sort of raised with these old traditional norms, but now this is actually a great life, and I don't necessarily want to go back to work because I don't want to miss out on this time with my child. He's getting older, and pretty soon he's not going to want to be with us anyways.
That's right.
He's not going to want to be
Clock's ticking. So, but definitely there'll be plenty of parenting advice that we'll be doling out.
Yeah.
As well.
What's your best piece of parenting advice that you've had?
So really, one of the earliest and best pieces of advice that I still try to stick to this day is that realization, that understanding, and that kind of acceptance that children crave boundaries.
Sure.
I think that there are some parenting styles that have come and gone, or are coming, or are still around more in the last decade or two, of really giving your kids tons of space and tons of leeway and not saying no.
Sure.
I think some parents who aren't around that much, when they do come home, they don't want to be the parent that's saying no. And so it's easier to say yes all the time to your child.
Sure.
But I've seen it in practice that children crave boundaries. They crave to know that you're in control and that you know where the boundaries of being safe and being appropriate are. And when they know that you're going to let them know if they're getting out of control, I feel like it lifts some anxiety from them, because then they don't feel like they have to know everything.
I think a good example of that is iPad screen time issue, which it just doesn't seem to go away. And it partially because we have never really addressed it. In our family, we don't have boundaries. Other families I know do have boundaries. They have excellent boundaries. For example, one is none Monday through Friday. And first thing Saturday morning, they get up and they're on it, and they can be on it for like an hour and a half. And what that does is that they know now not to ask for the iPad Monday through Friday because they know they're not going to get it. I get barraged all the time, every day. Get in the car, can I have the phone? Get to dinner, can I have the phone? We get home, can I have iPad? That is an unclear boundary for them.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think ours aren't particularly clear either, but I think what we have been working towards is that we do allow some screen time during the week in the evenings after homework is done. And that's the key.
Right.
We have a little bit of an issue with homework motivation in my home, especially my older son. And being able to play a game of Madden is some significant motivation for him. And
as it is for me.
So we find that if we can hold out on screen time till homework is done, that works pretty well.
Sure.
As far as on the weekend when there isn't homework to throw out as a carrot, the one thing that is tough is that, again, my older son more so than my younger son, is when he has had screen time, whether that be video games or TV or a movie, when you finally do call a halt to it and say, okay, we're done with TV, we're done with video games for right now.
Yeah.
He's so cranky.
Yes,
and
I agree.
And my
100%.
wife says, why would I let you watch TV when you're just going to be, a total crank as soon as we take it away? And I try to have these man-to-man conversations with him, like, bro, if I let you watch TV, mom's going to come in here in a little bit and tell you that it's done. Don't be cranky.
Right.
Because you're only going to feed into, her not wanting to let you watch TV here. So we've definitely had those conversations.
We go through that same thing every time we give them the iPads. And I think it's more so for us in the morning, like let's say a Saturday or Sunday morning, he gets a little bit of iPad time. I feel like he's cranky the rest of the day. There's just something about that. Something about starting off the day on that screen, and then I feel like the rest of the day is sort of off the rails.
100%.
What, is that you or me?
It's not me. Speaking of screen time.
Fuck.
Can you manage your screen time over there?
I have Do Not Disturb on. Why does this not work?
The thing about screen time that freaks me out is some of that research out there that says your brain reacts to a screen in a similar way that your brain reacts to cocaine or other drugs, addictive drugs. That freaks me out, man, because if you look at we're basically what we've been talking about here, the crankiness is a withdrawal.
Sure, absolutely.
That's terrifying.
And we had a friend who took it away all the time at home. No more at home. You can have it when you go to a friend's house. You can have it you go on a trip, which I think for us sounds like someplace we'd like to get to. Yeah. But I don't think that you can't just flip that switch and take it away. But I think we would like to get there because it makes them cranky. It disconnects. You look around a restaurant, everybody's on their phone.
Yep.
We were at a restaurant the other day, and it was a very nice restaurant, and there was somebody behind us, and the kid was listening to a video, and they didn't have headphones on, and it was loud, and it ruined my wife's dinner, and the whole family was just disconnected, looking into their things, feeding their faces. It was pretty disgusting, and
it's sad, right? I feel like it's sad. I feel like it's an easy button to have your kid be quiet, but that doesn't look fun. Because when you go out to dinner with your family, don't you want to go out to dinner with your family?
Sure.
I mean, like, why are you picking off the youngest member to say, stare at that and don't talk to me at all?
Right. It's probably because they've had it in the past and they get cranky and bitchy when they don't get it. So in order to shut them up, we have to give it back to them. We've sort of created this.
Absolutely. Last night I was at Ralph's and
grocery store, local.
Yeah, that's right.
Grocer.
Ralph's, for those of you who aren't familiar with Ralph's, it's similar to a Safeway. So there was a woman in the frozen foods aisle, and she had a child up in the cart. Right. Child couldn't have been more than 2.
Oof.
Just staring at a phone.
Oh my gosh.
And that moment just struck me. That child starting so young on something that is, as we talked about, so addictive.
Right.
I can only imagine as that child gets older, they are going to need screen time.
Our son went to a sort of a progressive nursery school, preschool, and there were no electronic devices allowed of any kind. There were no remote control cars, or there were no blinking games. There was no Simon Says, nothing with a battery, nothing that you could get plugged in.
Wow.
There was none of that. And you know what the kids did? They ran around in the sand and the playground. Around the holidays, they would bring in bags and bags and bags of shaved ice, and they would make a luge. And the kids would go sliding down on this big mountain of ice that they would bring into the sandbox, and then it would all melt. And the kids, he would come home just dirty, and they had so much fun. They would sell sticks, and they made mud pies, and it's like they're learning so much socially that way, how to deal with things, how to problem solve, and they're being super creative. I often tell Olin, he's like, I'm bored. I'm like, it's good to be bored. It's good to be bored, buddy. You know why? Because out of boredom comes this awesome creativity.
That's right.
One day, he was bored. I said, find something to do. 10 minutes later, he comes out, he says, hey, come here in my room. And I go in his room. He had set up a library. He put a bunch of his books out. He had a sign by a table that said book return. And he had made a whole library. And I walked in. I was like, what did you do? This is awesome. And he's like, shh. It's quiet. It's quiet. It's because it's a library.
That's awesome.
But that doesn't, you don't get that when you just sit in front of an iPad. Sit in front of an iPad.
Or an iPad. I totally agree. The gift of free time / boredom is where you create things.
Right.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Now, we looked at a couple of preschool programs that were similar to what you're explaining, very outdoors, very play oriented. And for us personally as a family, it was a little bit too dirty.
Aww.
Just
it's
because
you shower every day and I don't. It's already been established.
Our threshold for cleanliness might be slightly higher than others, so we just had to be realistic as what we were comfortable with.
Did they not play outside? Was there no outside at their thing?
No, there was tons of outside, but it was
it like all paved?
It was paved.
Really?
There were sandboxes though. I would walk, my son back to the car, and every day before he got in the car, I would make him dump out his shoes. Sometimes I'd have to take a picture of what had come out of his shoe because it was
because you were so appalled.
It was amazing how much sand came out. I can't have that in my car, dude. I cannot have it in my car.
I cannot. So then they got in the car and you gave them the iPad and they're all taken care of.
That's not true.
I know that's not true. So
speaking of play,
yes,
something that we are going to talk about quite a bit on this podcast is kicks.
Kicks.
What's a kick?
Oh gosh. Well, my wife knows when I start researching something, and she comes in and she sees I'm on the computer.
All the tabs open.
Yeah, and then or I'm in bed at night, and she looks over, and I've got I'm on the iPad too, and I feel bad about it. But I'm researching.
Sure.
Either it's a camera or a camera bag or a new griddle or a new barbecue or something for camping or something like that. Also meals. I got a kick for goulash. My mom used to make goulash, and I was like, well, how do you make goulash? So
how do you make goulash?
It's really simple. It's like meat, ground meat, and pasta and tomato sauce with some onions.
Really?
So simple.
You know what I'm getting that mixed up with? Succotash. Yeah. That's what when you said goulash, I thought was
right.
Isn't that like corn and beans and
yeah, like edamame or soybeans or something? I don't know. But you know what?
Goulash.
Yeah.
There's pasta involved.
There is pasta involved, but my mom put a lot of sugar in it too.
Interesting.
Yeah, everybody has their own goulash. Go on Pinterest and check out goulash. And if you're a stay-at-home dad, I hope you've been on Pinterest.
Was it actually like a sweet goulash, or
it was tomato saucy. It was like pasta with meat sauce.
Okay.
But it was elbows.
Okay.
And Gemma, my wife, remembers having goulash as a kid, but hers was shells.
Okay.
And I was like, that's not goulash. Goulash is with the elbows. She goes, no, it's not. So I made it recently, and I used shells. And it wasn't the same.
Where did Gemma grow up?
New York City.
In New York City.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a regional thing. You grew up in the Midwest, right?
I did. Yeah. And, we also said pop up there instead of soda.
I said pop.
From where?
I grew up in Oregon. In the Northwest, we say pop.
You say pop in the Northwest?
Yes.
Whose phone?
Baker, can you get
it's not
a hold
my phone.
of your electronics?
Oh, my gosh. It's got to be you. Oh,
no, it's the laptop here.
It's Gemma's.
We have so much technology right now.
Oh, we've got... We do. We have 2 laptops, an iPad, and 3 phones.
So we had... I saw the list of kicks that we've got going. It's getting lengthy.
Yes.
But we're going to cover, or at least touch on one per episode, I think. So what's your kick right now?
My kick right now is griddle tops. I got a buddy who makes these awesome like smash burgers. The traditional burger is you put it on a grill and you don't touch it and you let it stay juicy inside. And then recently Smash Burger, I don't know, several years ago, decided let's just smash the hell out of it on a rocket hot skillet.
Skitted did it.
Right? On a rocket hot skillet. And we'll just smash it down. And what it does is it sears the bottom, which keeps the juices in. And then you flip it over. And the minute you flip it over, you throw your cheese on. And it's on the second side for like a minute. There's videos on YouTube because I found out because I researched it. Because it was a kick. So I started making these at home. And then I had a little griddle top. And it would slide around when I would try to scrape it off. And I thought, well, I'll just get a griddle top to go over our range when that fits. And then you find out you can get an outdoor one that's 36 inches wide, and it's this enormous griddle. And I was like, I could make like 100 burgers.
You could feed the whole neighborhood.
I could feed the whole neighborhood. Then I started thinking, well, how can we feed the whole neighborhood? Maybe we'll have a block party.
Yeah.
And then the block party was the rationale for needing to get the griddle. So I found the reason to get it through the research, and then I just justified it.
You got there.
I need a griddle because we're gonna have a block party.
And then what email did you and I get?
We got a thing to be the at our school to take over this fall barbecue that they do, and I was like, fantastic.
It's like cosmic.
It was literally right after. It was really very weird. So I'm in this whole griddle kick. They're not that expensive. They're big, but I also have the feeling that I don't need anything else that's gonna cause me to eat more. I just don't need to go down that road.
Just to eat better.
Just eat better.
So let me ask you this. So the searing on the bottom I get.
Yes.
But aren't you squeezing out the juices when you smash it?
No, because at that point they're not juices.
They haven't turned to juice yet?
They're not juice yet. The fat is still solid. You smash it down and you hold it for 10 seconds. It sears the bottom, keeps the juice in. You flip it over. It's like a really good diner-style burger, like an In-N-Out burger.
So that fat hasn't liquefied yet.
Hasn't liquefied yet. But then it starts to, but then it doesn't go anywhere because
it's trapped.
The trick is then you have to take a spatula and you have to scrape. You have to really dig in and scrape all that crust off. Because if not, you're just going to cut the crust off, and that's all the good part. That's where the flavor is.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm looking into that. What is your current kick? Because I'm sure you have one, because we all do.
I do. So my kick has been, and it's morphing because I've kind of gotten over the original RV kick.
Oh.
But I got an RV about 2 months ago.
You did, nice.
And I was in it to win it. I was researching everything I needed to have
your kick,
to have an RV, to run the RV. I was buying knives and bowls and measuring cups and can openers and all that good stuff so it's fully stocked. Because the key is you don't want to have to drag half of your kitchen into the RV every time you go on a trip. You want to be able to just hop in the RV with some groceries and go. So fully stocking it out was awesome.
Oh, I bet.
It was so fun. So most recently I got, for my birthday, which was just the other day, my folks got me this portable grill.
Nice.
Which is fantastic. It folds down. It fits in one of the storage areas around the bottom of the RV. It is propane.
Okay.
And it's built for those little green tanks, the little 16-ounce tanks that you screw on that you can get at Ralph's or Safeway, as we discussed.
You get them at a grocery store?
Yeah, you can get those at the grocery store.
I usually get them at
Well, you go somewhere even more manly, don't you?
REI. I love REI. Anyways,
speaking of kicks, there are so many kicks that can be indulged at REI.
REI.
So anyway, it's built for those little green canisters.
Right.
And then I started thinking, my RV has a giant LP canister on the side. Couldn't I just hook into that?
Sure.
And so I started looking at, of course, people have done it. There's you've got to get a special hose with special fittings and a regulator, and you can hook the portable barbecue right into the RV, so you never have to refill it.
You're going to be cooking with an open flame right next to a big giant tank of gas.
Yeah. So now that you put it that way, it doesn't sound super smart.
Right. With your kids inside, not on the screen time. But
so I guess the solution to that would be a longer hose. But then why bother?
What's the point?
It's supposed to be portable, right?
Hence the name.
So hence the name. So that's been my kick. I think honestly, I arrived at the same conclusion that we have here, which is that it's not really worth trying to plumb it into the RV tank. Just get the little portable ones and barbecue where you want to barbecue.
Yeah, because I like to cook. I mean, I'm a tent guy. You're an RV guy. And we know that.
Yeah, and and the promise I made you when I bought an RV was that when we go camping, we're going to try to spend as little time actually inside the RV as possible.
I would hope so.
Yeah, it's for sleeping.
Right.
It's for, holding food, obviously, because it has the refrigerator and the freezer, so you can keep your food in it. Very handy to cook in the kitchen.
TV, DirecTV.
I did get a viewing situation in the RV,
right?
But I don't want to spend that much time in the RV, and which is why I asked my folks for the portable grill, because I would ideally like to grill burgers outside, not inside.
Right. You get smoky inside.
It does.
Unless you had a griddle.
A griddle.
For your
griddle doesn't get as smoky, right?
Yeah, it does.
It does.
It does.
It still does.
You need a good hood. You need a good hood above your range to suck up all that.
But I'm really looking forward to this barbecue that you and I are doing, because as we've discussed, it's a really fun event. It is for dads specifically.
Yes.
And it's how many dads come?
I just a photo. They just sent us the photo from the one.
Like
and it's like 70.
70 dads
I
show
did a
up
head count.
and all pitch in. And essentially, what the dads do is feed every kid in the school. It's a K through 8
and the staff.
So we are in charge of lunch for everybody at the school one day, and we've gone twice.
Yes.
Before, and it's a really fun event. But the one thing that we agreed could really be improved is just the quality of the food.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no excuse for a bad burger.
And I just think, so we've been brainstorming ideas on how do you mass feed 300 people good quality burgers.
Yeah.
And I think the trick, and I don't know, I could be wrong. I've got a chef friend I'm going to run this by, but I think the trick could be burger goes right from the grill right to a bun, and then it gets wrapped up in foil, and then that keeps it moist. It starts to soften up the bun. Nothing worse than a hard, been sitting out bun.
Yep.
And then it starts to heat it up, soften it up, and then you can give it to the kid, and then maybe you have a dressing station where they go and put toppings on it, and
I think the foil is key.
I think the foil is
Absolutely, you're really onto something there, I think. And, I mean, as we talked about, a lot of these kids aren't going to put lettuce, tomato, anything on the burger. Meat, cheese, and bun is good. So you go cheese on the burger, you go right into the bun, you wrap that thing up with foil, and it's pretty much good to go.
Most of them will probably opt to just put a big pile of ketchup next to it and dip.
And dip.
Because that's what they do.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be fun.
So that's Kicks. And there's always something to research.
Yeah.
And it's, it goes from one thing to the next. And, Gemma will come in. She'll be like, oh, looks like we're going to get a new camera. And I'm like, sorry. I started researching. All right. Probably should wrap this up soon.
Yeah.
So we're going to end the episodes, as we always do, with What the Fuck's for Dinner?
What the fuck's for dinner?
Last week, I had an answer for you. This week, I don't.
You don't.
I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer. We're going to have this discussion in a few hours at my house, and I hope I have an answer.
You're not planning? You're not planning ahead? Isn't that part of your job? I mean, last week we went through the whole 50s economics book, and it says you have to have a meal prepared.
Yeah.
And a bow in your hair.
So I am going to be stopping at Ralph's on the way back.
You love the Ralph's.
You know why? I went last night because we ran out of toilet paper.
Yes.
And you know what? I realized that most people don't buy like 2 cases of toilet paper at Ralph's. That's like a Costco thing, right?
Right.
But I realized I got like 2 big giant things of it at Ralph's and put it on the belt there. So I got home and I realized that I had purchased perhaps the shittiest toilet paper on the planet. And I just hadn't looked that closely. It was right out front. The price was right.
Dude.
1 ply.
A 1 ply?
1 ply.
1 ply is when you go to either an employer or a restaurant and you know that they don't give a shit about you because they've invested in 1 ply fucking toilet paper. Or you live out in the country and that's the only thing your septic tank can hold.
My wife said I feel like I'm camping right now.
Are you going to return it?
No.
This toilet paper doesn't work. Yeah.
I considered it, but no.
I'm sorry, I can't do this.
I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I might use it to light a fire.
Oh, dude.
In the
so
fireplace.
you've got how many rolls would you guesstimate?
I think it was 2 12-packs.
So you got 24 rolls of unusable toilet paper.
It's completely unusable. I'll just put it on the curb if you want it.
I wonder how long it would sit out there for. Because if you put a chair out front, it's snatched up.
Gone. So
or an old bookcase.
I
but
will be
toilet
going,
paper, I wonder if people would do it.
I don't know.
If they would think that you mistakenly left it there.
Maybe the package that's still not opened.
You'd have to put a sign on it that said free. Free.
What?
It doesn't work. 1 ply.
1 ply.
And it just sits there for days.
So I'm definitely going to Ralph's on the way home from here.
Maybe you shouldn't go to Ralph's.
Paper.
Maybe that's your problem.
No, I'm definitely not going to Costco.
All right.
And so I'll probably get something for dinner. And
what do you have any guesstimations? What's your I don't know what I'm going to do for dinner.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to make a game time decision.
We're eating out tonight because Olin has hockey.
Okay.
Which is going to be great because that means it forces us into. But then again, it's, well, where do we go? It's like they got the 6 or 8 places that we usually go to. So I guess it's just about branching out and finding new things. Maybe planning ahead. Maybe that's part of the battle.
Yeah. Do you do meal delivery services?
We used to. We've done a bunch of them.
Yeah.
We found that they kept coming, and we got busy, and then we got too far.
It's hard.
Behind.
Yeah, you have to be able to. The one that we do sometimes is 3, and you kind of have to just do 3 in a row, and it's difficult to find 3 nights in a row that you're going to be able to cook a meal.
And I feel like they don't give a shit about it. 3-person households. They don't. It's like it's either 2 or 4, and if you're 3, well, fuck you.
Yeah. We're doing a 2-person one right now, and the kids won't eat any of it anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Oh my gosh! So you're cooking 2 separate dinners.
It's supposed to be one of the ones that's geared for kids.
Yeah,
and they won't have any of it.
You know what you could do? You could make tomato soup and grilled cheese. You can make your lunch for dinner.
It's one of my favorite lunches and dinners.
It's a lunch.
Baker, remember, we're a label-free zone.
It's a lunch. All right. Well,
we should mention a couple things.
Yes.
We have Twitter.
Right.
It is at Home Dad Show. So that includes the symbol at. So our handle is Home Dad Show.
Nice.
But
it's at symbol Home Dad Show.
Home Dad Show.
I like that.
Same with Instagram.
Nice.
So follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram.
At Home Dad Show.
Yeah. And we'll see you next week, Baker.
Yeah. Take it easy, Adam.